Now, this is going to be the appeal judge speaking right now. They're in response to what the defense is saying.
Okay, well, I will. Why don't we leave? One of your arguments is that it would violate the Sixth Amendment to consider acquitted conduct. Let's put it that way.
But Shapiro got back on track, made the argument that the court erred when it seemed to use issues that Combs was acquitted of, conduct that he was acquitted of, to essentially give him a more severe punishment. That's the allegation.
Isn't your argument really that what the government is doing here is mixing and matching? You're taking evidence from the claims that were acquitted to try to support the Mann Act claim sentencing for purposes of the Mann Act, but none of that jury was presented to the jury for purposes of the Mann Act.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that a summation of what we're...
That's fair.
Well, he's mixing and matching is what he's doing, right? I mean, the district court here reached into the evidence that was used to support the government's RICO and sex trafficking case to for purposes of establishing the penalty under the Mann Act.
Correct. And he found coercion when the jury had not found coercion, including as to those two specific instances, because the government made those arguments and expressly told the jury, which correctly under the jury instructions, that if they found coercion, each of those instances would have been sufficient to convict on the substantive sex trafficking.
Were there limiting instructions given or requested during trial that certain evidence would only be admissible with respect to certain of the charged offenses?
No, and that wouldn't really have worked here.
So then the prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic, represented the government at trial, provided her own arguments. But she also got some pushback from the appeals judges.
Judge Subramanian properly considered the aggravated manner in which the defendant carried out his Mann Act offenses, which is, of course,
You
consistent.
say aggravated manner. Let's talk about that. Why shouldn't we hold you to the way you prosecuted the case?
And this is the judge.
You went to the jury and
This is the judge that's getting
the
at her.
judge that's getting at the
The
prosecution.
prosecution. Basically saying, well, let's talk about you didn't do your job basically as a prosecutor of the evidence that you provided.
And the second thing is that they're saying basically like the jury's stupid. Like
Yeah.
the jury, they didn't give them the jury didn't use the information that was provided to them. So the judge decided to use that information. That you can't do that. That's madness.
It's a jury trial. Go on.
said, this man did all these terrible things for purposes of the RICO conspiracy, for purposes of sex trafficking, and they acquitted him. And then on the Mann Act, it was just a sideshow, and you put in, I don't think there was any evidence or any live witness testimony. Just look at this, you said, look at these charts. And now you want us to rely on all this acquitted conduct that was presented to the jury, that was presumably rejected for purposes of, or to allow a district court for purposes of the guidelines calculation. So why should we hold you to what you argue to the jury?
Your Honor, I have several responses, but
Please.
first is that
stutter.
much of the conduct that the district court focused on in imposing the sentence was not acquitted conduct at all. In fact, it was admitted conduct. The extreme physical violence that took place.
But that's
in
not
the
what he was
context of-
charged. Like, oh my
But
God,
that's not what he was charged for.
Like,
All that should go out the window once
That's
you're not.
irrelevant
It's
to
irrelevant
and
to
now.
what's happening right now. What you got
That's common
convicted for
sense.
is what you get charged for. It doesn't make any sense.
trust me, that doesn't make no sense to me. And again, this is not about. This is just right within the guidelines of the law.
Yeah.
Like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
If you get convicted of, stealing, right? And then you like through, I don't know, like that's what you want to be charged. That's what you want to be sentenced for. Stealing. Give me the penalty for stealing, not for killing somebody. Like
It's like you drove and you got into a car accident, and then they charge you with drinking and driving when you weren't drinking and driving. Right?
Yeah.
But they say, maybe they say like alcohol spill, but okay, but you know what? There's no alcohol on your breath. They tested you for alcohol, everything. There's nothing like that. You might have liquor. Oh yeah, the liquor broke while
and
in the car.
they charged you with drinking and,
And they
driving.
charge you with drinking and
They
driving.
proved that you didn't drink and drive, but because there was alcohol in the car, they want
No,
to
it's still, they could
give
convict-
you that.
You're still convicted of it because you know what?
They still want to take that.
We
into
think that
account.
you were
You
drinking because
That's not what I got convicted of. Give me the penalty for what I got convicted of.
Madness, but
Yes. Damn you!